Okay. Good evening. I spend a lot of time around people who think about innovation, who do innovation, and I come to this sad conclusion. It's been a long time thinking about it, and actually there's two parts to it. The first part is, I think that creativity is overrated. Sorry. The other thing I think is that actually it's so bad, it may actually get in the way of innovation. What do you think? Oh, yeah, you don't like that. No one likes that idea. So let me talk about it. First, let me start with the difference between creativity and innovation. I think it's worth saying. I talked to some people, they seem to think the words are interchangeable or synonymous, and that's okay. But what happens is you lose power of explanation. If you can say, well, this is creativity and that's innovation, you know when you need each one, you know how to tell them apart, you know when to apply each one. And so it's important to know the difference. So what I'm going to talk about, what I want to say is that creativity is really about this having an idea. There's lots of forms of creativity, but we'll talk about the generative idea. So I have this idea, it comes out of nowhere. Innovation, on the other hand, is going to be the process or the sense of taking an idea and turning it into something meaningful in the world. Something that's adopted, something that's changed, some kind of new thing that makes the world a better place. So what I want to do is start with playing a game called How Creative Is This? So I'm going to show you some things. I want you to tell me how creative you think this is. So, iPod, what do you think? Very creative? Yeah, super creative, right? No, not at all. Not at all. Did Apple invent music? No, right? Did they invent white plastic stuff? No. Did they invent digitizing music? No. And actually, there was about 3 years before the iPod was the Diamond Rio came out. It was the first commercially available MP3 player. And all Apple did was make it white, I guess. Okay, you got that, right? Another one, I have another one for you. You've heard of Christo and Jean-Claude? Yeah, they wrap islands. How creative is this? What do you think? Super creative? Wrapping some islands? Did you ever wrap a Christmas present? Yeah, wrapping is not that creative, is it? Maybe finding, 5.6 million square feet of hot pink polypropylene. They call up Home Depot, can I have a hot pink polypropylene? They say, sir, we'll need a deposit on that, right? Is it not super creative, is it? Because they had wrapped all kinds of stuff before that. So what's there? Here's another one, the Post-it. Creative? Oh, come on, people, come on. You don't want to go there, right? Bad paper, bad adhesive. Did they invent that? I mean, is that creative? Too small to write on, is that creative? Right? Ugly color, what do you think, right? Okay. Puny idea, actually. I mean, Post-its, what were they? They were basically displays paper clips and staples and tape. Not creative at all. Now, on the other hand, puny. On the other hand, there are some things, sometimes some really, really creative things. And if I talk about these things, when we say, hey, think outside the box, those were not outside the box ideas. They were not things that were way out there, that were blue sky, that were, start from anything. So I'll show you some ideas that were think outside the box, and you tell me, how creative was it? The Segway. What do you think? So they were going to sell more Segways than they've sold iPhones. You have your iPhone, where's your Segway? Right? Well, I saw one down in Brentwood. It's a real picture, really taken, really in Brentwood. I hate to say. And so there are a few of them around. A few people are using these Segways. But this thing was going to displace cars. It was going to displace airplanes. It was going to displace your legs. I mean, you wouldn't have to do any, you could actually just take it all. So great idea, ignored. We don't have them. Where are they? We all didn't come here with them. We came here with Uber, not with Segways. There's another one. Actually, I had and a friend, we talked about this, and we invented very early on the first hands-free headset. Yeah, and that was exactly the response I got, the ridicule, right? The ridicule, yeah. Let me show you another one here. I got another really exciting, far out thing. So this stuff is called Sow and Grow. It's a sort sort of a fertilizer-like thing. It has time-release nitrogen. It absorbs water. The water slowly goes into your plants. So you can see how you'd put it on top of your plant, stops weeds from coming up. It's a lot better than Roundup and things like that. In fact, Sow and Grow is so awesome, it's made of 100% recycled human hair. Yuck. Okay, right? That's worse than Puny, right? That's just plain old yuck. So if you take these examples and begin to think about what they mean, I think what I'm suggesting is that big creative ideas, like if you have those, it's like they get stomped, they get crushed, they get ignored, they get, people don't pay any attention. It's the puny ideas, actually, that seem to get through. The bad adhesive, the little paper, the things like that. And so maybe we sort of have it a little bit backwards. And so as I was thinking about this and really thinking about, like, why would it be that small stuff seems to work and big stuff seems to not work? Like, why? And so I thought about this, and maybe others of you know this. So in my own creative career, which probably started in like second grade, teacher would say, hey, let's do some art. I'm thinking, okay, where's the duct tape? Like, I need a hammer, I need some clay, where's the bandsaw? Where's the bandsaw, right? And so the teacher says, sorry, paper and crayons. Thinking like, it's like, that's so constrained. It's like, yeah, that is. You run an advertising firm, a client comes, says, hey, we want something amazing, something like way out there, something really cool. And you have to ask, like, is this a TV ad? Is this a print ad? Is this a banner ad? Like, how are we going to do this? Again, the kind of constraints, like the things that hold it in. In order to be successful, you have to think about constraints. So I started thinking about it in that way, came across a product here. I actually worked at a firm, we worked on this product, and it was kind of interesting. The problem of the Palm Pilot, does anyone remember the Palm Pilot? Yeah, Palm Pilot, yeah. It was a very popular product, actually. One of the problems with the Palm Pilot was handwriting recognition. And so most companies, Apple was one, tried to approach it with just sort of this hardcore, like, let's be super creative, let's put a big old computer on there, let's make that happen. And Jeff Hawkins, the inventor of the Palm Pilot, had the puniest idea ever. He said, since it's so hard for computers to understand handwriting, because sometimes you write this way, sometimes you write that way, sometimes you put a little heart on the top of the I, right? He said, like, let's not do that. Let's teach everyone a new way to write. That's pretty puny, isn't it? It worked. And it took about 15 minutes. You sort of got pretty good at it. It was kind of something to do. I'm going to give you another example. This is the grill walker. Party on the front, propane on the back, right? Yeah? Okay. You got that, right? And so with the grill walker, this is in Germany, in Berlin, the grill walker. So the grill walkers walk around and they sell hot sausage, bratwurst, in fact. And it's kind of actually a puny idea. It looks awesome, but it's really just a puny idea. I mean, did they invent bratwurst? No. Did they invent grilling stuff? No. Did they invent taking food to hungry people? No, they didn't. And so one thing you may be wondering, what's the question that pops right into your mind? Why on earth is he carrying it? Why not just put it on a cart and drive it around? Well, it turns out the puny idea here is that the health codes are written in a way that if you carry the thing, it's called food vending. If you touches the ground, it's called food preparation. You think there's a difference? All kinds of difference, right? Because you need brakes, you need a sink, you need hand washing. Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna go there. So next time you're in Germany, don't eat from the grill walker. Okay. So once again, in thinking about, like, why does innovation work with puny ideas? Why does it work with small ideas? So let me try this out on you. So here's where I am so far in my thinking about this. I'm thinking about constraints. I'm thinking about conditions. So if an innovation is going to work, and innovation could be anything. It's just anything that makes the world a better place. It could be new sidewalks that are 3D printed, that we talked about. It can be better schools. It can be a new widget. It can be all kinds of affordable housing. All of those things are innovations, and all of those can take place. The one thing we tend to forget is that take place in a place where there's certain conditions that have to be true. There's certain constraints on what's possible for innovation. So let me talk about the innovation process here. So innovations tend to start with an idea. So there's always a creative idea, and that's the creativity part. And we can all have ideas. We could sit here and have probably 400,000 ideas in about 20 minutes because there's enough of us here to do that. But nothing would change. Nothing would get done. So you start with the idea. What happens next? Well, what happens next is you need support for the idea. You need to make the idea better. Someone says, Dave, don't do it like that, do it like that. Or here, let me give you some money for that thing. Let me help you. We all know there are situations where we may have great ideas and we're just afraid to tell people. because there's maybe a toxic environment, because of the way the groups work. And so for a good idea to get to the next stage, certainly we need support from other people. Once we have support, we need some kind of ability to execute the idea. And usually we use organizations. Organizations are the mechanism for executing an idea. And different organizations can execute different ideas. If you make potato chips, you don't make computer chips. They're very different. Right? Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious, hopefully. You then need a market. You need people or someone who says, I want that. Someone who says, like that, I'll change my life. I'll stand in line around the block for 3 days before you ship the first one. I want that so badly. So who is it? Who needs this thing? And there's always someone who has the intended user, the market, the client for it. You then need to navigate regulation. Regulation can be formal regulation in terms of, like, there's a law against doing that. Human cloning, for example, there are lots of laws against it. But there are also the kind of social control, the kind of regulation that we have with each other. Like, someone looks at you funny when you drive the Segway walking your dog. That kind of social control, that kind of navigation. And then finally, in my view, is this idea of the technology. Like, the damn thing has to work, right? Or else it's not innovation. And so it's all these steps have to be done. All these conditions, what I call constraints, have to be satisfied if innovation is going to work. And so it's not just about the idea. So this idea of the big idea, actually, let's keep it puny. Let's keep it small. And also, if you look at this picture, I ask you the question, when someone says, think outside the box, what are they talking about? What are they asking you to do? They're asking you to sort of go find a place where it's really hard to solve all of these constraints, where it's really difficult, where it's probably not going to happen. And so when you're thinking outside the box, it takes you to a place that's probably not a very productive place. And so if you're going to do innovation success, and this is the kind of language I use for these when I talk about it more formally, of the kind of constraints, individual constraints of the person, group constraints of how we work in groups, and these sort of line up with the academic disciplines and how they work, psychology, social psychology, organizational behavior, and so on. But the point here really is that the creativity part is not the most important part. It's often not even the hardest part, right? We have ideas all the time. But it's what comes next, the things that we have to do next that are more difficult. And so my advice to you is say, hey, let's keep thinking big, but let's not get blinded by that. Let's not get stuck on that. Let's not keep saying to each other, oh, you're so creative. Oh, you have such a great idea, but actually start to think about some of the puny ideas that actually work. Let me just, as a footnote, want to say, I had a team of students working on a project recently come to me in my innovation class, and they said, Professor Owens, we have a solution to the problem. It's not very creative, and so we think we should start over. I thought, that's kind of weird. And then I realized, well, I mean, it is. And I thought, I couldn't figure out, like, is it my fault? Because, I mean, we're trying to make the world a better place, and if you can do it in a way that's not creative, then do it. Don't stop because it's not creative. Don't stop because it's not something that your mom will say, oh, David, you did such a creative thing. So my advice to you is find the puny ideas that work and go with them. Thanks very much. Bye.